Martins did. Google just hates me this week. So let's hope you break this streak for me, because I'm
Yeah.
feeling a little self-conscious about it right now. All right. So you're feeling nervous. Why are you feeling nervous?
I don't know, actually. Um,
Because I'm going to be
last one
way
was kind
more
of
brutal.
yeah. Last time you were just checking me out. Now you're like, okay, now we know what you can do. So let's be brutal too.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to be merciless this one. I'm sure that makes you feel better. So why don't you
Yeah.
pull your images up and click on the screen share?
First. Cool. Should be able to see that.
Hmm, there we go. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the image.
Um, this was on the last couple of weeks I was in Bangkok. We went exploring Chinatown, and I went out with a mission to try and get some cool photos of some of the restaurants or the street life that happens there. And I wanted to experiment with light streaks as well. So this is I think it's a single exposure, but then I took a couple of extra shots to get a bit more light streaks in. Oh, it's
Mm,
double exposure, sorry. And then I just blended it in Photoshop.
okay. Um, so I'm a big fan of the light streaks with the traffic. I think that it can make for really, really cool images. Um,
Hmm.
I gotta be really honest with you though. This one kind of has more of a snapshot tourist feel for me than it does a portfolio worthy image. With the exception of the light streaks, like that's the only thing that sets it aside for me. Um, and I'm not sure why. I think it's just that it's just not grabbing me and really sucking me in. And it may have been the perspective that you're showing, because the light streaks are such a unique element, but they almost feel like an afterthought because they're in the bottom corner of the screen and there actually isn't a lot of focus on the road itself. It's more about the stores. So I feel like the elements just aren't matching up for this to really create the kind of impact that I think that you were looking to create. It's a pretty shot, but it's just a pretty shot for me. I think it's really busy, which I think really suits to, like, you know the Chinese kind of culture, and even like Chinatown kind of thing, even in America. Like, this is exactly what it looks like, and there's always like tons of people and lots of lights and just a lot of energy and life in it. So I do think that you caught that one. I love the people that are outside ready to like just ready to go rather than being inside the stores. Like, there's definitely a lot of energy in this shot that I like, but it's missing something. And I honestly didn't even notice the light streaks off the until you started talking about them.
Yeah.
So I think that there's potential for this image, but I think that you would have to play with a little bit different angles and decide, like, because it's such a unique element, I feel like it almost has to be the focus and the star of the shot, and it's not here. Um, so with some of your other work that I've seen, I'm gonna give this a one. I think it shows potential, but this would not make your portfolio for me if I had to pick
Okay.
your images, because I think a lot of your other work is stronger.
Okay. You'll have to tell me which some of that other work is later.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely get into that.
Okay, cool. Okay, next one.
This one,
Okay.
yeah. Go ahead, tell me about this one.
This was again one of those small agency shoots that I did. There was like about 10 models that arrived one day to shoot some boudoir stuff and fashion, and while we were busy waiting for one of the models to get ready, this guy will take it for me. So I sat him down in the chair, set up a light and umbrella, and shot a couple.
Mm.
Not too much story that goes with it.
I don't know if it's me. It's entirely probable that it is, or that it's the Google Hangout, but I'm seeing a lot of banding um, along his collar by his neck, but I'm thinking that that might actually just be a glitch in the Google
Yeah.
Hangout. I love this matted flat kind of look, and I actually have a really hard time accomplishing this when I do my photos. So I'm very attracted to that. This is a really, really strong black and white image, and for me, a lot of times, like, I feel like people gravitate towards black and white without really paying attention to whether it works as a black and white image, and this one definitely does. I think it was Ansel Adams that said, when you photograph in color, you photograph their clothes. When you photograph in black and white, you photograph their soul. And this shot is definitely an embodiment of that. Like, the connection with the camera is really strong. His eyes are just piercing, but they're piercing in a very almost melancholy, like deep old soul kind of way that I find very, very intriguing artistically. It makes you want to know about him, and the attire and the surroundings definitely lend to that. I love the lighting. I love the texture on his skin, that it still makes him look like a real person, but it's very clean. You didn't quite get rid of all of the lines on his forehead and the laugh lines on his cheeks, which I like because I think it gives his face personality.
Yeah.
I love this image. This image would make your portfolio. In fact, I think it's one of the strongest I've seen you present so far.
Okay.
So I'm going to give this one a 3. I think for where you are right now, that this is an exemplary image for you.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, tell me about this one.
This was the first kind of shoot that I put together where I wanted to try and tell a story. This shot by itself was just an afterthought, just to show the characters and light them decently.
Okay.
Yeah. I played around with gels again, put an orange gel in my strobe to get the background to go blue, and yeah, it's just one light.
So I love the fashion feel of this image, but I feel like it's competing a little bit with the clothes. The girl that's in the front has a very, very strong kind of presence with her makeup and her facial expression and her stance, but her gown totally says like bridesmaid's dress to me. It doesn't say fashion.
Yeah.
In comparison to the other two, I think it would have been stronger for you to put her in the middle or the back for this shot. And the bottom of her dress over her foot is bugging the crap out of me. I would go in and Photoshop that and make it an even line, because that's making me crazy. I'm not completely sold on the lighting. You lost it a little bit. Again, with her being in the forefront, she should be the strongest one. And I feel like the light on the face is much stronger on the back too. Like, your middle girl looks like she's Asian. So she's got that beautiful rounded face. But then you have the very high fashion cheekbones with the blonde in the back that I think is really strong. The girl in the front just looks mean. She looks like you just stole my boyfriend in prom. That's all I can get from her face.
She was the evil queen.
Yeah, she looks it. But I don't think it's necessarily working in this, because she's an evil queen in a prom dress or a bridesmaid's gown.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the color either. I like that you're being bold with experimenting with the color and the lighting, but I don't. Their skin is so yellow and orange, and with the warmth of the dress compared to the blue background, it looks like some of my earlier work where I thought that I was editing very cool, but it wasn't. It was just bad. And yours is a better interpretation of that because mine really sucked, but it's making me think of that, which makes me think that this will be one of the images that you go back to in a couple of years and they're like, oh God, what was I thinking? But I like the pose. I would have liked to have seen more of the girl in the middle. The general rule is that you don't have all of the models do the same pose. So the hand on the hand on the hand on the shoulder for each of them, it's too repetitive. It does change that up a little bit for more of the fashion. Like you could have had girl number 3 put her elbow on the shoulder instead, or switch it around, or hold hands with the girl. That kind of positioning with them in front and just one step out is also very reminiscent of like bridal posing for bridal parties. So you have these competing elements somewhere between fashion and wedding and prom and artsy, and I think the image is just coming off as a little bit confused in this shot. Yeah. That said, the lighting and the makeup is really pretty. I love that you can see the collarbones. The shadows that the dress is causing down the knees isn't necessarily attractive. But I think that their faces are really pretty. I would have liked to have seen the front girl come back just a little bit so we didn't lose quite so much of that side of her face in shadow. And maybe tilt up a little bit because her eyes, like, she's definitely playing the evil queen if that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
Nailed it. But the bone structure of her collarbones and the tonality of her arms is really strong. I dig that a lot. You can definitely see all the ruching on all of the outfits, so you nailed it in that regard. It's also really hard a lot of times when you have multiple people in one shot to be able to correctly do it so that you're getting all of the detail in the blonde without blowing out the highlights, but all of the detail in the brunette without losing texture in the shadows. So bravo there. So I'm gonna give you 1 for this one because I don't think it would make your portfolio for me if I had to pick your images, but I do think that it shows promise, and I do think that you were onto something. You just didn't quite hit the mark there for that one.
Okay. All right. Cool. Let's come on, next one. There you go.
Ooh. Okay, tell me about this one.
This was a trip up to one of the northern provinces of South Africa. It was a family trip. And my girlfriend and I went for a walk, and there was this cool little villa there, horse ranch type thing. And I just sat and waited for a patch of sun to come over it and snap the shot.
This is a beautiful image. This would absolutely make your portfolio for me. I love this shot, and I love that you had the patience to sit and wait for the light to be over the actual houses and buildings, because it totally makes this image. It features it and pulls it in because there's a lot of texture and a lot of information going on around them, especially with all the leading lines from the fencing pulling you away from that center. And it's not being overpowered because you have the light focus there.
Yeah.
I love the texture of the clouds. I love that you pulled out all the texture of the ground behind them with all of the hills and the little like berm that you have with the trees and stuff leading in. Like, this is just very, very picturesque. I could totally see this being a huge print in different hotels and or on a postcard, like wish you were here kind of thing, guess where I'm staying kind of thing. Like, this is just a really, really beautiful portrait, and that's always when I'm looking at landscape, especially because I'm not a landscape photographer, the bottom line is, do I want to pin it to my places to go board on Pinterest? Like, that's my thing. If I want to be there because I'm looking at it, then you nailed the image, and this one you totally did. I love the color. I love everything about it. The only real critique that I have for you is that it's really, really dark on the hills to the left, and you're getting a lot of the sun patches on the right. I may have just gone in and just dodged just a little bit on those far hills to darken it up just a little, because you're losing a lot of the color, and it's a lot less contrasty just because of the way the light was hitting. So I might have done that, and I might have pulled out just ever so slightly the roof a little bit on the buildings because they're so light in comparison with the sun over them that I'd just like to see just a little bit more of the texture, the detail of the shingles. But that's really nitpicking at it. I feel like the only thing that's ruining the image for me is the car parked out front. I would totally clone that out. Because you have this very picturesque, like, farm life, simple and back to nature, and, you know, this rustic thing, and then the automobile. So
Yeah.
I would probably clone that out. I think it'd be stronger without it. But overall, it's just a really, really beautiful image. I'm going to give you a 3 for this one. I think it's exemplary.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Is that all of them? Or do we have one more?
No, I think this is the last one.
That's all of them. There we go. Okay, tell me about this one.
This was, again, another model portfolio shoot that I did. It was that same day that it snowed. This was another one of the models that came through a bit later in the day. There's no snow in this image, but I just like the way that everything works together.
Okay.
Wind blowing in the outfit and the windmill in the background.
I'm really trying to decide if I think the windmill adds to this or if it would have been stronger just on a blue sky. I kind of feel like it would have been, but I think the redeeming thing is that the colors of the windmill are getting pulled in because of the color of his jacket and you know, the white of the shirt and his skin tone. So you have this sort of monochromatic foreground thing going on that I think is tying it in enough that it's allowed to stay.
Okay.
I love the light on his face. Was this shot natural light?
Yeah.
Yeah, so beautiful job. A lot of times when I see people shooting outside natural light, they're not paying enough attention to making sure that their models are in the right direction to get flattering light on the face, and you did a really beautiful job here with that. I really love the motion of the scarf and the fringes, but I also think that it's competing with his face because it's so bright and so textured and there's so much motion that I keep wanting to look at the edge of the scarf instead of him, so it's competing a little bit. But I also like the fact that it's flowing, especially with the windmill in the background. Like, I can just, like, you can feel the wind. So it's like, I want to, like, mark off for it, but I also want to give you a plus for it. So we're just gonna call it neutral. I can't decide if I love it or hate it. Love the texture in his shirt that you can see all of the, you know, all of the folding in the fabric and the texture of the jeans and the jacket. You did a really beautiful job there. I'd like to see it lightened up just a little bit on the inside of his arm. You lose a little bit in the shadows there and along his elbow. But again, that's really, really nitpicking at it. I love the depth of field and the focus. I think it might have been a little stronger if it had been even a little bit more shallow. And I'd be really curious to see, because he has a very strong face and a very strong stance. I think if you had him actually looking at the camera, that you would have the same effect that your other image does, where he would just be piercing it, but in a totally different way from the other guy, because he's just got that look. But I could totally see this as an ad, like, you know, for the clothing designer or something like that. Definitely for the scarf. I could see them using it. But I think it's a really strong image. This one would definitely make your portfolio for me as well. So I'm gonna give you a 3 for this one too. I think it's exemplary where your current work is.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. So you can turn off the screen share.
Where is it? Is it off now?
It's getting there. It's trying. There we go. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. So last time we talked, you were setting up shop in Australia, right?
I was trying to, yes.
And now we're on a totally different path, and we're thinking China?
Singapore or South Africa. Or back to
Okay.
South Africa.
Yeah, because, you know, those are the two places that I would think. They're, like, right next to each other. Why not? So tell me a little bit about what's going on in the wonderful world of Brett and why the change. Where are we at now?
Well, the original plan was to try to get a job that would allow me to get a visa here. That didn't come through. So
Okay.
the plan is go work somewhere else for a year, maybe 2, and then we can move back to Australia through my girlfriend, well, fiance.
Okay. So
Yeah.
why Singapore or South Africa? What's the draw? Are we just picking unique places we want to have as our address?
South Africa is because I can work there legally quite easily.
Okay.
And Singapore is if my fiance can get work there, she can earn a ton of money. And there's a fair bit of video and photography kind of work going there.
Okay.
So I might be able to get work too.
So what's the game plan for you now? You're gonna pick a new place, and then are we trying to focus solely on photography, or what's next for you?
I just want to make some money.
Fair enough.
I haven't made any money for about 1.5 years, so like need to make some money. So I've been applying for jobs, just trying to get that going. Over here in South Africa, because I'm not allowed to work, I haven't really been charging for anything. Not allowed to. So I mean, we'll see what happens.
When is this move supposed to take place, and when are you picking a final destination?
The final destination we'll pick when we know someone gets offered a job. Really depends.
Okay. How long?
Yeah, I mean we're looking at December, January.
Okay, so we're thinking sometime in the next 2 months at least. That's good. Okay, so obviously hard to plant roots and start building if we don't know where you're going. But in the meantime, I mean, ideally, are we still looking for you to be able to do photography full time, or are you pretty set on just whatever makes me money?
Yeah, I mean, photography full time is the way I'd like to go.
Okay.
Right now, I just need some.
So judging from your portfolio now, you have some really beautiful like landscape and location photography, and you have some really, really awesome portrait and model work. So which one do you love? Which one do you want to focus on?
Don't ask me that question. In terms of which one I love, I think I'd probably go for the landscape stuff.
Okay.
Just because there's more travel involved and seeing different landscapes and stuff.
Okay.
But I do really enjoy the technical side of fashion.
Okay. Do you have a website right now for your work?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Is both things on it?
Yeah, I've got travel on there, lifestyle. I mean, travel, landscapes, wildlife, and fashion.
Okay. So here, let's do this. Can you do me a favor and pull up your website and just screen share with me, and let's take a look at that, because the nice thing about our generation now is that we have this wonderful thing called the internet, and people can see you from all over. So regardless of where you are in the world or where you're going, we can start building you a good base off of that. But the problem with, I'm not of the mindset that you have to choose one, but I do think that you have to have a clear message as to your potential clients. So if I'm looking for someone to do modeling work and shoot me, as beautiful as that image of the farm is, if that's the first image I see, I'm going to go, not that one, and I probably won't even get to the point where I see your modeling portfolios. heart surgeons always make more money than general practicing doctors.
Yeah,
It's the same thing with photography.
You could specialize or something. That's one of my biggest problems because I love doing so much photography.
You don't have to specialize, you just have to still find a way to coordinate the two. Like, you know, for a while I was doing weddings and boudoir and children. And but it was very easy for me to have like the very couture images of the weddings and then have the boudoir and then go from that boudoir to maternity boudoir and then to babies. So you could follow the line of thought process throughout the life. Like they come in and they get, you know, they get married, they do some sexy pictures for their husband, they end up pregnant as a result of those pictures, and we do maternity shots, and then, oh, baby. You know, so there was a like a very clear line of thought process that you could tie the images together, but they were all still in the portrait realm, and they were all pretty much portraits of women. Even a lot of the baby portraits were of the mother and the child kind of thing. So there's that tie-in. For you, I think you start to see a little bit of that with the image from your level 4 critique of the model in the snow. Like you could flank that in your portfolio with images of mountaintops covered in snow, you know, or another like a forest shot, like snow shot. But you have to find a way that makes sense visually to tie the images together if you're going to do that. So a lot of that may just be placement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think that you necessarily have to choose. It's just it becomes a way of tying it in visually, artistically, just for the people viewing the images, and then it becomes a matter of understanding who your potential client base is for both of them. Obviously, with models, you're either looking at agencies or you're looking at companies that are looking to do sales work for clothing lines or accessories or something else that they need the models for the shots, or you're looking at it as a portrait thing where the people coming in and paying you are the models themselves, whether it's for a professional portfolio or they just want pictures of them. Who are your potential clients for the landscape?
Yeah, you see, I don't even know who to. I mean, I've got a couple of them up on my website for sale, but I've never sold one.
And honestly, like, you know, that's the kind of thing that when you hit level 20 and you get to change spheres and go to someone else, if landscapes are something that you really, really love, then don't accept until you get picked up by a landscape photographer. That can help you with that more, but I wouldn't imagine there's too many people that are going to buy a print off of your website of a landscape. They have to find their way to your website, and if you're not exceptionally well known, like Trey can do that because he's Trey Ratcliffe. Like, but people buy it because Trey shot it, kind of thing. You know, because you're still relatively new, it's harder to get people to you and then to get them to buy the print, and so it's this trade-off kind of thing. But I could totally see you doing like postcards or stock photography on different sites, or you know, smaller prints. I could see you doing maybe little travel books and things that you pick up like in the airport when you land, kind of thing, that tourists would love to bring home to their kids. Like every time I fly to teach, I always bring something awesome home for my children from wherever I'm at, like those kind of things. Like I said, it looks like a wish you were here postcard. I could totally see somebody being there and buying that specifically for that purpose. So we just got to get a little more creative with who your potential client is and where the market is as far as landscapes go, and get you off of the concept that your website is going to sell them, because the bottom line is that it's probably not.
Yeah. I've realized that.
So, but let's take a look at your website anyway, because even if they're not buying them off your website, that's your front door. That's your, you know, that's your business front, and that's probably the first place that they're coming to see you. So, do you have that up?
Yep.
Okay, so.
Where's the window? There you go. Okay, this was just, it picks a random picture every time you land there. Hello?
That your first shot is the first shot that you want people to see.
Sorry, I missed that.
You're in the second cohort. JLark in the Ignis cohort, instead of sharing 5 images, they shared one that was the image that defined them. This would be the perfect opportunity of how that actually ties into life.
Okay.
So that's homework for you, is to go through your whole portfolio and go, this is the image that defines me as a photographer and an artist to my potential clients.
Yeah.
But that said, I love this shot. And this would have gotten a 3 for me.
Oh, really? Okay. So from here, what do you want to look at? I mean, I've got...
Okay, so...
I mean, this is my... I've got 4 different sections, and then another art section that people can go and look through pretty much everything.
Okay, so we have the different categories. Again, coming at it as a potential client, they're so varied from each other that I would get confused as to what it is that you do and how that would serve me.
Yeah.
So I'd also like to see your landing page be like a slideshow of images. I still think you should be very pointed about what the first image is that they see, but then I'd like it to show more. Your landing page should definitely have your artwork. The less clicks people have to do in order to get to your actual images, the more likely they are to stay and actually look at them.
Okay. So would a mosaic work better? Because I know it's just dealing with this website that I've got it through.
I'm not a huge fan of the mosaics, although this one isn't bad. But I'm not a huge fan because I think they're really busy, and they tend to cause your images to compete with each other for view. Yeah. This is a really clean design though, so this one doesn't bother me as much. I've seen some that are just really really overwhelming. Yeah. If I had to pick for you as far as your landscape, why are none of these in your portfolio? Why are you not bringing these to critique? What is the matter with you?
I gotta
look. Image 1, image 3. In the second row, image 2 with the purple clouds.
Yeah.
The 1, 2 down from that, the one with the ship, the one with the lightning, the one with all of the, I don't even know, is that clouds like on the mountain here in the bottom one in the third column? Like, all of these are 3. Like, what are you doing? Why are you selling yourself short?
I don't know, some of these I don't actually, I think some of the work is better. And I have to have portraits in there as well.
No, you don't. You don't at all, especially if landscape is where you want to focus. But like, I think the one in column 4, row 2 is beautiful. Like, these are stellar work. Why are you not bringing these to critique? You're not allowed to pick your. Listen.
After I selected.
You are not allowed to pick your images for critique anymore. For your level 14 critique, you talk to Nicole and you talk to Martin and Bruce. And you talk to some of the people in Convergence from the other cohort, and you have them pick your images for you.
Okay.
Okay, because you are selling yourself way short. Okay, so let's what's the difference between landscape and travel? Let's click on the travel one.
Yeah. Travel is just more kind of places I've been. There is a bit of landscape worked in here, but
okay. So I think that you could probably combine travel and landscape into one category to narrow
Yeah.
it down. The less choices, the better. And I would just call it travel photography because landscapes are still places that you go.
Yeah.
And if you're calling it travel photography, though, I would definitely have a caption or a mouse over or something that when you click on the images, it tells you where it is.
Oh, okay, yeah. In terms of,
The first row, second image of the monk, he
yeah,
doesn't fit in this category. Great photo, but he doesn't fit.
okay.
He's the only one that you have that's a person. The rest is all location, so he's not fitting in it. This is really, really tough. It killed me to go through and cut out some of my favorite and best images because they didn't fit as part of the collection. So that one would go for me. I think that your landscape work is stronger than your travel work, but there's a couple that I think work. I really like the first image, first row, first column. I really like the fourth row, second column. That one's really strong. Third row, first one, that's a snapshot. That one would go for me.
Okay.
Same thing with, I guess it's a train or a trolley. That one's not doing anything for me.
Train.
And then is that a stadium directly below that, or what is that one?
That's Stadium in Durban.
Okay, so that one's really cool. I would definitely keep that one. That's a really unique perspective. But I would keep looking at them and seeing if they make sense together. Some of the conflict that I'm seeing is like you have two that are black and white that are both more modern kind of buildings and modern architecture. They stand out like sore thumbs. They would both go. You know, your cityscapes are pretty. But again, I feel like they're standing out. Like you're competing with like nature versus like technology and like human modernization kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I see themes in certain ones. Like you have quite a few shots of the boats. Like those would all be together in one category. I think that it would be stronger for you to have a slideshow than have the mosaic because your eyes just want to jump around to all these different things. And I think that you can make it really strong if it was, here's the images of the temples, and then here's, you know, it would go from like cityscapes to the temples to maybe the shot of the boat in the bottom of column 2 to the other boats, you know, and then that would go to a water shot, and then that would go to you know, the trees, and then that would go to your landscapes. Like you have to be able to kind of take them with you on a journey.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's all travel photography. So being able to very clearly lay out which one they're looking at and which order, I think would help. Even if it's not an auto-advancing slideshow, like if it was just run as like a banner, essentially, of images that you would just click the mouse and move over to the next image, choose what they're seeing and what order they're seeing it in. So that it tells a story together, because right now it's really broken up, and I think that you're losing a little bit of the potency of your artwork because of that. Okay. Let's take a look at wildlife. The one of the lion with the blood kills me. And you have to take the spider one down too.
Oh, yeah.
Which I actually think is a really strong shot of yours, but it's irrelevant. Same thing. Like a lot of these are really beautiful, but I think that they would be stronger if we went from, you know, all of your wildcats and into maybe the zebras and the elephants. You know, like just have it follow its own suit. The spider actually does stand out. It's a really strong image, but it's the only insect, and it's so small in scale compared to everything else that you have that I don't know that it necessarily fits as part of the collection.
Yeah. Okay.
I really, really love your close-ups of the animals. I think, like, in column 3, I would get rid of all of them except for the lion with the blood.
Oh, okay.
I would also get rid in column 4 of both of the first and the second one in column 4. I would get rid of column 5. I would get rid of the top one and the first one of the giraffes.
Yeah.
Actually, I would get rid of both the giraffes, and I would just leave the lion one and that one too. But like
Okay.
the one of the elephant eye and the zebra eye, the one of the lion with the blood close up, the ones of the cheetahs, like the really close up shots, you're really, really getting in tune with something beyond this is a photo of an animal. Like you're really capturing this kind of majesty.
Almost.
Yeah, it is, and it's the kind of thing that I'm always trying to get people to get in portraits, where you're going beyond the visual. Like, you know, there's always conversation about whether or not animals have souls the way that people do, and you can't look at an image like the top 2 in the last column with those eyes and the one of the lion with the blood, and I see it in the cheetah and the bottom image in column 2, like those close-ups, like you can't not see the spirit of the animal in that. Like they have as much personality and as much connection as any human portrait that I've seen. I think the one of the 2 lions laying side by side in the 5th column is really, really strong too. And it's some of the others, like the top one in column 4 really jumps out at me. That one is not good enough to be in your portfolio when it's in competition with how good some of the other ones are. So you end up actually diluting the potency of your images by having ones that are good but not exceptional. And some of the images in here are really exceptional. So I think you have to really just cut mercilessly. I'd rather you have 5 incredible killer images than 25 that range from incredible to okay.
Yeah, okay.
And again, I can totally see this fitting in with the landscape. Like I could totally see one slideshow that would have landscapes that are the landscapes that these animals are in and would kind of flow back and forth. I can see the connection there between the animals and the land. And I can see the connection between the landscape and the travel. But you have landscape, travel, and wildlife, which kind of feed into each other, and then fashion. You know, it stands out a little bit. But let's go over to the fashion. So same thing, potency. You're gonna have to get brutal and cut the images.
Yeah.
And actually, I remember from level 4 critique, you showed the last one and the second to last column. Those 2, your black and whites, have a very, very similar feel to them that I think would be really strong as a style of yours, but they stand out like a sore thumb in this collection.
Yeah.
You know, so it's different when you're picking your portfolio for that reason. Half of these would probably get cut for me as far as what's worth it. Like you have this bridal image down here in column 3 on the bottom. That one would go. It doesn't fit. It's not fashion.
Yeah.
But both of the ones of the prom evil queen thing that you got going on, those would probably go for me. I actually think that the one of just her might work if it got a re-edit, and it might be stronger in black and white than it is in color, but the color contrast on the skin just looks like the white balance wasn't set well.
Okay.
It's too competitive. All of column 4 would go for me. Those are pretty senior portraits. They're not model and fashion, so you have to kind of decide who your client is.
Okay.
Love the first one. Love in column 5, number 2 of the girl with the really, really sharp contrast lighting. That one's really good. The one of the girl with the killer eyelashes and the white shirt down and across from her is really pretty. The one above her looks like a fashion image to me. I really, really love the black and white ones. I would like to see you do a whole series where that is the end result, because I think that those are your 2 strongest images. You shoot better in black and white, I think. There's something about the way that you shoot and edit in those ones that you capture way beyond what everybody else is seeing visually that I think is really strong. But like the guy in the snow with his shirt off and the other guy in the snow with the scarf, like you have 2 very different elements of like this high fashion thing going on, and then you have this really deep, soulful portraiture that I think would be really, really strong. But I would totally take both of those styles and put them on a different website from your wildlife, landscape, and travel, because they're not suiting together. There's no tie-in, and I don't know how to tie it in for you.
Okay.
Is any of that ringing with you at all, or are you like JLark?
Makes sense. I've just kind of lumped portraiture and fashion into one place because I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, and I totally think that you can. But I think there's got to be a balance. Like I was pretty good at wedding photography, and I found a way to tie it in visually on my site, but I remember talking to an agent and him telling me very specifically, listen, sweetie, your work's good and some of your work's incredible, but it's completely diluted by the fact that you have wedding photos and children's portraits, and whenever anybody serious in the advertising community goes to your site, they see a portrait photographer playing at fashion and editorial, which was exactly right. And I went through and cut weddings the next day because I wanted to be taken seriously as an artist, and I wasn't. So you just have to decide where you want your focus to be. Like, you really love the landscapes. I think some of your wildlife work is really, really beautiful, and I think that if your goal is to travel and see more of the world and photograph it in that way, that those 2 would be your really strong points.
Yeah.
You know, you can still have an album on your social media or whatever that says that you do this for people, and as you're traveling, if they're like, hey, I want to shoot, like, by all means, take the work and get paid the money. But I think the way that you could tie it in was actually be if you got away from fashion and stuck to the black and white with the fine art portraits, because I think that you could take some incredibly stunning images of people in the places that you travel to.
Yeah.
So it would just be a different kind of travel photography. Like, when you go, what do you go to do? You go to experience the culture. The culture is the people. You know, everything about the architecture and the way that they build and what they eat and where they live and what it looks like, all of that comes from the people. So if you had all of this incredible landscape and travel photography of these places that you're at that some people will never get to go in their life, they will experience that through the images. And if you had that built in, where instead of going, here's my portfolio altogether of all the places that I've been in all my landscape photos, I think that you could do a really awesome blog maybe, or social media albums, where it's like, now I'm in Singapore and here's the culture, here's everything that you would love about this place if you ever got to go here, and here are the people, and here's the architecture, and here's everything that I'm experiencing with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I think between the 2, if I was going to be impressed and go, oh my God, you have to check this guy Brett out for your portraiture, those 2 black and white photos do it for me more than everything else in your album. So I'd really like to see you play with that a little more and see if you just got lucky both times, or if that's something that you can replicate, because those images I could pick out as your photos.
Okay, that's cool. That's good
Yeah.
to know.
So, all
So
right.
that's a
That's it.
tricky black and white style to
It
get
is, and
right.
it's not just the retouching. Like the retouching is definitely playing into it, but there is something about those images and the way that you are capturing them that it's about the models too. It's about their connection and their potency with the camera, and that's really, really hard to do. If you had an entire portfolio of that, you could make a fuck ton of money. You really could. Like those kind of images, I could very easily see you at my rates in the next year where you're making $2,000 to $4,000 per session for that kind of style. I would pay to have an image of me like that because it's very soulful and it's very intense and it connects you on a deeper level. So something to think about.
Yeah, no, definitely.
As far as the landscape and the travel, you know, if you're looking to do that and that's where your heart is and that's what you want to do, then I think you know, the next thing is to really start pushing that. Like you're not working right now where you are, correct? And you can't. Is that right with the visas? You can't make any money right now.
No.
Okay, so perfect. That means you have nothing to do except for to go shoot.
Yes, and I have no money to do it with too.
Okay. So, well, okay. Let's talk about that. Like realistically, how difficult is it for you financially to go out and shoot some of the beautiful places where you are? Because I've never seen it. I would love to see it. Show me the whole country. Can you like get in your car and go?
I could borrow a car for a day, maybe.
Okay. I mean, well, here's where it gets tough. Like, the circumstances are not ideal for you. I'm not undermining that at all. It sucks, and you've been having a rough go of it, and I'm feeling for you, dude. Want this enough to overcome the obstacles in front of you. Start troubleshooting. Like, how bad do you want this? Because if you want to do this professionally, it's work. It's a lot of fucking work, and it's hard, and it's a lot of obstacle overcoming, and it's a lot of troubleshooting. But you're down there. Are you with your dad? Do I remember that correctly?
Yep.
Okay, so you know, he's been there for a while. Yes, like that's home.
Yeah.
So he probably has connections and other people and resources to hook you up with too, or at least knows where to send you, kind of thing. So, you know, like scrape together some cash, or, you know, I don't know, go hiking, figure it out. Anywhere within an hour of you, you know, start looking for the places and put a portfolio together from your time there. Like, you have nothing but time right now, and that's your most valuable resource. That's what most people are trying to overcome when they're trying to find this, is they're balancing family, and they're balancing, you know, relationships, and they're balancing other careers, and they're balancing client work and stuff like that. Since you know, the upside of you not working and not being able to, like, the no money thing sucks, but you have nothing but time right now to build exactly what you want to do. Yes, master.
Yes, master. Still need to figure out exactly what I want to do.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. If I could be your Arcanum fairy godmother and wave my magic wand, what's the ideal scenario?
Something that I'm quite often drawn to is adventure type photography, like yeah, you see it in often product catalogs and things where they're selling snow jackets or whatever, but they'll take people and shoot commercially in a pretty cool location.
Okay. There's a good way to blend landscape and modeling.
Yeah.
So where are you going to find the models?
Sorry?
So where are you going to find the models?
That's easy enough.
Okay. Good.
Just got paid them.
Well, you're in I've never paid a model ever. And it's not because I don't value them or think that they're worth it, but when your work is good, they're always looking to update their portfolios too.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine you'd be able to look around and not pay them if you get creative enough about it and if your images are good enough, which I think that they are. So especially with you being a little more financially tight, that it's a good idea to get creative and find other ways to benefit them without it being a monetary remuneration. But I would definitely be working on that. If that's what you want to do and you really love that, then I would definitely be looking at local people, and I would be looking at maybe some local boutiques that are, you know, indigenous to that area in that country and where you are, kind of thing. And you're in Australia, like 80% of the living, breathing things want to kill you over there, so I hear.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd imagine that finding adventurous locations is not going to be hard work for you.
No, yeah. Finding them is not hard. It's
Yeah.
just far away.
How far?
At least an hour's drive, depends where you want to, which direction you want to go. Forests.
That is not far. An hour drive is not far. 6 hours is far. 12 hours is far. An hour is not far. An hour of your day, and you get up an hour before the sun, and you go shoot it on the sunrise in an amazing location, and you have all day, and you're back in time for dinner. That's not far. You can do that. Don't make excuses. Especially after posting that bug photo in the group. Like, you're on thin ice. I'm not accepting any excuses.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to, before I elevate you to level 10 and you cross your first sphere, you are going to give me a list of 10 different locations that are within 4 hours of you that you are going to go shoot. That's your homework. Go find something incredible. Go on Pinterest and type in the local town names and find really beautiful, incredible spots to shoot, or put on your sneakers and go for a walk and go find something really beautiful to shoot. If you can't work for pay, then work for an investment towards your future. That's what you're doing right now. You're building your portfolio so that when you are in a place where you can start working, you have a full portfolio of work. That's what we're doing right now, because, you're either going to make it happen or you're going to make excuses, and there's nothing that I can do for you. I can coach you, and I can be your personal trainer, and I can tell you one more and go for it and hard, but I cannot do your sit-ups for you. Like, you have to do them, so you have to decide how much you want this. Otherwise, you're going to be working for someone else, and that's the trade-off. It's hard. It's a lot of work, and it's usually in circumstances like this that just suck. But this is where heroes are made. So you have to decide if you're ready for it. Do you want it?
Yeah. I just need to make some money.
That was not convincing at all, by the way. I want you to replay that. Like, be the hero of your story. Do you want it? And you're like, yeah. Yeah, I do, I guess, yeah. I'm pretty sure you actually shrugged, too.
Yeah, probably. I do that quite a lot.
So,
yeah.
So you want to shoot amazing models in killer clothes in crazy locations. That's the ideal scenario for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even flip if I shoot models in studio and then put that's something I want to try this weekend, actually.
Compositing?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Been looking at Paul Grimes' work.
Nice. I love him too. Yeah. Good inspiration point. Okay, so that's even better, because then you don't have to worry about coordinating with the models. You can just get in your car and go and find some locations to drop them on as backdrop. So the images will work as landscape and travel photos for you for print sales.
Yeah.
of the location, and then we can work on that. And then also, they'll serve as stock photography for you to be able to build as backgrounds for the models, and then you can have them come into you at any point.
Yeah.
So I would start working on that, and you're there for at least another month or two, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you should have no problem setting up, we'll say three shoots in the next 2 months. That's like one every other week, even less than that, one every 3 weeks. Okay?
Yeah.
You design the concept, you figure out what it is that you want to shoot, have them come into the house, shoot them outside, I don't care, but put together 3 shoots for your portfolio as an investment towards your future. You know, some really killer work. I'd really love to see some more black and white images from you. I think that that is going to be, if you're looking to make money, and you've said that several times, if that is where your priority is, I see that being the easiest road for you towards a good bit of financial freedom.
Yeah.
So you decide. Like, it sounds like landscapes are your passion and stuff, but me looking at it, if I was looking to make money off of you, if I was coming in as a business partner and financing you, I would be financing you to do that. I think that is your strongest point.
Okay. No, that's cool. I'm quite happy to do that.
Okay.
Who would be my target market there?
Everyone. It's portrait photography then. They're really, really soulful portraits. I could see that with anyone. I would love to have portraits of my children like that. I think that would be incredible. I would love to have a portrait of myself like that, and I would use it for all my promo pieces, because there's something almost existential about it. Like, it's very unique and very emotionally potent, and I don't even know what it is about it, but it's mesmerizing. It's really, really strong. It's the best of your work that I've seen. I'm drawn to it because I'm drawn to photographing people.
Yeah.
But I also think that it enables you to make the most money quickly, because the subjects are your clients. You don't have to worry about finding someone that appreciates the art for art's sake like you do with landscape. Like, or finding a potential market for that. Like, the people are the subjects. But I totally see that being a really beautiful collection. Like, I could totally see you putting together an entire book of portraits where you tell stories about the people. Again, feeding back into the travel, if you want to go, like, this is who I met here, you know, and this is who they are and what they do. And especially when you start going to remote locations, like, that kind of portraiture with, like, some young boy in an African tribe kind of thing, with like all the girls that do like the necklaces and the neck stretching and some of the jewelry and the face paint and the scarring and stuff that they do. Oh my God, those would be killer images that would sell as fine art prints too. So the fact that you can take that and do that with normal people in everyday portrait situations, I could totally see that selling for seniors as a really unique kind of portrait. Like, there's just something really, really soulful about it. I don't know what other word to use than that. And that's really, really rare. I see a lot of really pretty portraits. I see a lot of really artistic portraits, very, very talented people, fashion photography, but there's something that emotionally binds the viewer to those images that I think that you could make ridiculous amounts of money selling, because I haven't seen it in any, there's nobody else I can think of off the top of my head. There's no other images coming to mind that I'm like, yeah, it reminds me of so-and-so, you know? Like, other people hear me harp all the time, like, great, you've mastered the Sue Bryce style, or you've mastered, you know, like, because everybody does it, but you can see the influence from it. And she's brilliant. Like, you know, there's a reason so many people follow her, but I don't want to see people echo somebody else. I want to see what they have to offer. And for me, if you were looking into portraiture, there's nobody with all of the talent in both of the houses that I run and all of the other houses in the Arcanum that I sit in that are ran by other masters. I can't think of anybody that I'm following right now that has that kind of style and that kind of emotional connection in their portraits that I see in both of those.
Okay.
So cool. If you're looking to make money and you're willing to let go of, I love doing landscapes where the profit is a little more important than the passion to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather make money and then use that money to go travel.
Yeah. Yeah, and
nurturing.
that's totally fine. Like it's okay for you to not make money from your art. Like it's okay for you to go, this is what I shoot in order to make the income, and that pays for me to go do all this other stuff that I love to do, that I do just because I love it. Like you don't have to make a dime from it if you're making $4,000 to $5,000 a session off of these portraits.
Yeah.
And if you like doing them and you're not miserable, like if you were like, oh my God, I hate that. Like I have it in there, but that is like the one thing that I just grit my teeth, then I wouldn't be pushing it. But if you like it, you're really fucking good at it, Brett. Like really good at it. Like really good at it. Don't put it.
Cool. Okay.
So how do you feel about that? Would you be okay with that being the focus of you on a professional level?
Oh yeah.
Yeah? Okay, then here's what I want you to do. I'm totally changing everything. Don't worry about going and shooting location in the next month. Sorry, can you hear me?
Sorry? Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. It's October 20th right now. Yeah, 5 people, 1 a week. That's what you have. I don't care if you only produce 1 portrait from each session. It can be your fiance, it can be your dad, it can be your next door neighbor. I don't care, but I want you to shoot in that style. Let's build you a portfolio in that style, because that style is very potent, and everyone will be able to pick it out as an image by Brett. There will be no mistaking it. So if we can replicate that and do that, then we can start building you a business plan for that, and that will be able to follow you to wherever you end up.
Okay.
Yeah? Cool. Okay, so the next step is for you and I to sit down off camera, just in a private hangout, because you're about to cross into Sphere 1. You are out of the foundation levels. Congratulations.
Yes.
And so for 11 to 20, it's going to be much more personalized for your artistic path, which I think we're going to build around this, and that'll kind of adapt and change. So we're going to sit down and we're going to build your next 10 levels together, me and you.
Oh, okay.
So what I want you to do is I want you to spend some time over the next week really thinking about where you want to go from here, as far as how much money you would like to be making a month, and what you want your focus to be on. If you're perfectly happy with it being the portraits, you know, how many you'd like to be doing a month, that kind of stuff. And just like what the idea is, that when you hit level 20, you are exactly where you want to be to jump off into the next phase of your career. So what does that look like for you? What is your success? So put that together for me. Like actually sit and write it down, maybe talk it over with your fiance, since you guys are moving and you're like in this like life-changing place right now where you're picking paths. Like this is a really good time to really sit and hone in on that, so that we can build that, so that by the time you get to level 20, you're ready to just go for it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
How are you feeling? I beat on you pretty hard this session.
You did, but...
I do. I like to abuse you. You're one of my favorites to abuse. I don't know why. I apologize.
Maybe it's because I take it so well.
You do. You take it like a champ, Brett. Don't let anybody tell you different.
No.
How are you feeling now?
I've got a direction now.
Good. Good. Okay. So take a deep breath. You survived. You passed your level 9. Welcome to level 10 and Sphere 1. Cheers.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. I'll see you again at level 14.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cheers.